Good morning, everyone. Whew. I was up too late last night. Woke up too early this morning. Not feeling 100%, but we are here. It's time to talk about D&D, which is my favorite thing, pretty much. So we're in a good spot. We're going to talk about the Sunless Citadel. After you take a rope hanging down in the darkness of the ravine. Older handholds, goblin carved. Descent is 50 feet to the ledge, or area 1. So the top of the fortress level, which, based on this map that's right here, is really broken up, fully destroyed. I wish they would make the map bigger. Like, they have it at a big size sometimes in screen, and then when you click it, it makes a smaller version. I've never liked that. Oh, and there's a player version of the map. Looks like it's pretty much the same. I wonder if you give them a map at any point. That would actually be fun, is you... Maybe some of the adventurers return and they've got a map of, like, part of it or something. You could, like, grab the map and, like, rip off a chunk or something like that. Anyway, level 1. We're gonna do at least 1 to 10, and then see how we feel. The ledge. A sandy ledge overlooks a subterranean gulf of darkness. The ledge is wide, but rough. Sand, rocky debris, and the bones of small animals cover it. A rough-hewn stairwell zigs and zags down the side of the ledge, descending. Upon you finish that, you hear the cries of, "I have dark vision!" from everybody who took dark vision. Just fair. Far wall of the chasm is 250 feet to the west, meaning those with dark vision can't see it. Most likely, the possibility of increasing your dark vision up to at least about 90, 120 feet. So, possibilities. The bottom of the subterranean vault is 80 feet below where the characters stand, so they'll probably be able to see downwards to the floor at least. Which, based on that image, they'll see that there's a staircase basically going down a ways. Looks like that's probably like a 10 foot, and then 20 foot, maybe 10, 15, 20. Let's see, total of 80 feet. So, say 10 and 15 is 25, then we'll say that's 20. So that's 35 and then 50. That might do it. I'm really bad at gauging distances, but that sounds about right from the top to the bottom, since that's supposed to be 80 feet. We're looking at let's see. Hold my finger up. That's about half. So it's about 40 from the bottom to that to area I think that's area 3. No, it's not area 3. The bottom section under area 2, the between area 2 and the 2 area 3 area. That's about half, so that's about 40 feet. So you're looking at maybe a 5 foot and 15 foot, something like that. If you're gonna make that a 20, which probably a 20. Let's see. Boom, and then boom, and then boom. Yeah. Probably a 515. 515, 20, 40. So if a party member wants to jump on down there, you'd have a whole lot of fun. Very little damage, although they are first level, so first drop. It's probably not much. Second drop, a little bit worse. So 2 is all of the staircase section, so probably from the top to the bottom. Anyway, on the ledge, once you surrounded by the occasional animal that accidentally falls into the ravine, 3 giant rats will lurk in the rubble. They try to hide if they become aware of the characters, and they ambush the first character who arrives on the ledge without being quiet about it. Down by the occasional animal that accidentally falls into the ravine. I guess. That doesn't seem like something I would do if I were a rat, if I were a giant rat, but maybe. Depends on how hungry I am, I guess. How far does the rope go? 50 feet? If I stay there because the occasional animal drops down injured, I've got a pretty good idea. Accidentally falls into the ravine. So fully drawn there. So that means like they're living there, kinda. I don't think they would attack necessarily someone who seems to come down at a normal pace, because like a 50-foot drop is going to be 4d6 of damage, I think. What's falling? How does... I always check the rules. See what they're talking about and what their idea going forward is. Falling damage. Falling damage. Oh, come on. Is there nothing on just falling damage? But it's there, isn't it? There we go, falling. Falling from great height is significant risk to adventurers. Rule given in the player's handbook is simple. At the end of a fall, you take d6 for every 10 feet to a maximum of 20 d6. Oh, they dropped the whole... Unless you somehow avoid taking damage from the fall. Here are 2 optional rules that expand on that simple rule. Hold on. I thought the first 10 was free. Did they drop that? Is that something from like 3rd edition? Falling. Oh, it doesn't just say falling, of course it doesn't. They gotta make it hard on us. Falling player's handbook, maybe? Handbood. Falling player's handbook. Player's handbook +1. Ah, yes. All-purpose tool for their adventures, extra. Xanathars. No, not Xanathars. I need the player's handbook. Rules on falling. Player's handbook. Player's handbook. Players. No, okay, gosh. What section would falling be in? Personality, equipment, customization, using ability scores, adventuring! It's somewhere in adventuring. Probably movement. So that or combat. Movement in position. We're gonna make combat a separate section, and then maybe the appendices also, but adventuring is where it should probably be. Falling. Oh, sweet. First 10 feet are not free. Did not know that. Watch out, everybody. Good to know. At the end of a fall, a creature takes 1d6 for every 10 feet it fell. So first 5 feet are free. Everything after that is a d6. Up to 20. And then there's also some other things. The rule for falling assumes that a creature immediately drops the entire distance it falls. But what if a creature's at a high altitude? Perhaps on the back of a griffin, or on board an airship. Realistically, a fall from such a height can take more than a few seconds, extending past the end of the turn when the fall occurred. If you'd like the high altitude falls to be properly time consuming, use the following optional rule. So this rule has nothing to do with extra damage. It's just if you're falling an insane amount of distance. That's too small. Alright, it's taking a moment to set everything up. Just things that I should have done earlier that I didn't because I was doing other things. So, you fall from a great height, you instantly descend up to 500 feet. If you're still falling on your next turn, you descend up to 500 feet at the end of that turn. This process will continue until the fall ends, either because you've hit the ground or the fall is otherwise halted. Nice. Good to know. 500 feet. 500 feet seems like a lot, but falling does happen real fast. No. Hmm. Yeah, this one. Flying creatures and falling. Flying creature in flight falls if it is knocked prone, so kick it. If its speed is reduced to 0 feet, or if it otherwise loses the ability to move unless it can lower, hover, or it is being held aloft by magic such as the fly spell. If you'd like the creature to have a better chance of surviving a fall than a non-flying creature does, use this rule. Subtract the creature's current flying speed from the distance it fell before calculating fall damage. This rule is helpful to a flyer that is knocked prone but still conscious and has a current flying speed that is greater than 0 feet. The rule is designed to simulate the creature flapping its wings furiously or taking similar measures to slow the velocity of its fall. If you use the rule for rate of falling in the previous section, a flying creature will descend 500 feet on the turn when it falls, just as others do. If that creature starts any of its later turns still falling and is prone, it can halt the fall on its turn by spending half its flying speed to counter the prone condition, as if it were standing in midair. That's really neat. And is let's check audio. And is definitely yep, that's it. Is definitely a useful thing to be aware of. These are cool optional rules. They're not too crazy out there. Ooh, optional rules for adamantine weapons. Melee weapons and ammunition made or coated with adamantine are usually effective when used to break objects. Whenever an adamantine weapon or piece of ammunition hits an object, the hit is a critical hit. The adamantine version of a melee weapon or 10 pieces of ammunition costs 500 gold more than the normal version, whether the weapon or ammunition is made or of the metal or coated with it. So it's just crits. So basically, Shatter Spike is just adamantine. Good to know. I mean, it's got the +1, so that's different. But Shatter Spike in the book basically does this, where it's like every time it hits an object, the hit is a critical hit. So it would be an adamantine sword, basically, which is cool. Also, 500 GP more than the normal version. Yikes. Anything else I'm interested in? Not really. What's this on encounter building, though? You'll have to make additional characters. I'm not interested in reading this right now. We're still trying to get to 10. So, just 3 giant rats lurking in the rubble. Yeah, if I were a giant rat, I don't think I'd be attacking a dude who came down hale and hearty. I'd be, especially, like, that happened a month ago. If I was here, and, like, I saw that happen, and those people were, like, combat ready, I'd be like, my little rat mind is telling me something. Because rats are pretty smart. And giant rats, I assume, are even smarter. Because, you know, unless they've been, unless the size change has altered their brain so that they're not as smart. I would think they'd know, like, dude in armor with weapons is not a great sign. And it's like, maybe a goblin. Like, I'd steal a goblin or a kobold, maybe, but the bigger they are and the more, like, especially the more, like, they look like they're kitted out, I'd be like, gonna wait. I agree with the hiding, but I don't agree with the jumping in the player. Maybe I would do it if I were a giant rat. I would maybe do it if they looked wounded, if they'd like already, if they fell, like that fall 50 feet So 5d6 damage. That to me is like whatever falls is 90% of the time dead. And the few things that survive that fall, that I'm scared of, I think. Because it's gonna be 5d6, which isn't a ton of damage. It's gonna be something like 3 and 4 is gonna be 7, 14, 14 plus 3, let's say 17 damage. So 17 damage, that's enough to kill most like critters, I would say, probably. Let me check. 17 damage. Yeah, yeah, yeah. So the average hit points is 17. And see what comes up. No, not a lot of stuff. Not a lot of stuff. Oh, wait. It would be 1 to 17. Because I want, because I'll eat anything, is the theory. Yeah, people, animals, rabbits, specifically Almirage rabbits. Oh, hello, Velixian. Sorry I didn't see. Playing a campaign? No, just reading over stuff. Unless the party's carrying 50 pounds of cheese on a delivery quest and the rat is hungry enough to be desperate. Yeah, very true. Then later on, the Rat King finds out and gets very angry. The party slaughtered an innocent starving rat. Yeah, pretty much. The very cool. So yeah, hello, Velixian. Hope you're having a good day. I'm just reading over. I'm reading over Sunless Citadel. I'm trying to get to location 10. This is from Tales from the Yawning Portal. And I'm just looking at the 3 rats and, like, right now and just being like, what are my chances as a rat of going, like, let's attack a party member? Yeah. So that's an answer to your question, which you've been watching, so you kind of know what's going on. Apologies. But anyway, yeah, most things die on the 16 pages full of creatures that die upon falling into this little thing, including a Barovian witch, an old woman who's just like, unless she's got a spell. Does she have I don't see it. Confirmed. Most Barovian witches do not have feather fall, so we're talking just dead. But most everything that falls is going to be dead. I don't see a reason as a rat to look at something that survived the trip down and be like, yeah, let's fight that. Make each of the 3 rats a rat colony instead. Sure, the stat block would be an easy just. Oh, yeah. There's swarm, I think. Let's see what the rat swarm is. I think it's swarms, insects, swarm. Let's just try rat. 2. There's swarm of cranium rats, swarm of rats, and then there's the disease one. Yeah, swarm of rats. 1/4 keen smell swarm. I could definitely see that. It could be a lot of fun. The 3 giant rats are 1/8 challenge rating. This changes them to 1/4. That's a good boost. And also it gives this idea that oh, that's nice. Very cool. Rat colony gives a +1/+0 for each rat you control and is itself a rat. I could definitely see throwing that down. You could add in like you could make these a special swarm of rats. So you say it's like so it's like rat colony swarm, and it basically has the same stats, but instead you add the note that like it has an extra +1 to attack for each of the swarms that are part of its thing, or each separate entity that counts as like a rat. Because it's going to be a ton of rats, but it's one entity, and you don't want to give it like +50 to attack because the party will freak out. They'll be like, "What? How does it have that good bonus?" So yeah, you throw about 3 of those out. They'll have a +5 to hit. They do about a D6 piercing, or actually they'll have +2 to hit probably, and then they do their 2d6 plus 3 damage, and then or 1d6 +3 if the swarm has half its current hit points or fewer. And yeah, Oh yeah, you can give it pack tactics too. It depends on how much you want to hit your party. This is like the first thing they find. So it could. Their first level, first thing they find is 3 swarms of rats that hit for 2d6 + 3, and also have advantage on all attacks against you. I'm positive the party is going to be like, man, rough. Anyway, investigation. A successful wisdom survival check will reveal humanoid footprints as well as rat tracks of unusually large size. Or in this case, just the dozens of rats. Hear you out. Give the rats mirror image. Oh, that's hilarious. That is good. I wouldn't put that in the Sunless Citadel, I think, because this one's like all about nature and druidism and stuff like that. But I could see a wizard doing it so bad. You go into a wizard's tower, and then like you hear the like a speaker stone or whatever come on, like magic mouth, and the wizard's like, "Hello there! You seem to be here without my permission. I am now going to release the rats. Please note, I have given the rats magical abilities, and I'm still testing things, so be prepared for the dragon breath rat." And then like it opens, and there's just it's only like 3 or 5 swarms, but because I think it's 3 extra copies of each, it looks like it's 20 swarms of rats. They just start, like whole room gets covered. Party cries. Wizard standing there. I cast fireball. Is the desperation of everyone trying to survive such a thing. And then they quickly find out that there's actually not 20 swarms of rats, there's just 5. And then it turns out the dragon breath thing is real. So funny. Among the rubble is an old ring of stones that contains and is covered by the accumulated ash of hundreds of fires, though no fire has been lit here for a few years. Inside the ash pile are a few rough-hewn spear tips of goblin manufacture and small animal bones. It's interesting that the ash pile doesn't have a light in it, because I guess it's 7 miles, so it's not that big of a walk. But I would have expected you go here, you rest here, and then you move on to the rest of the thing. Nature, huh? Yeah, kind of. Sunless Citadel is about a vampire got killed, like ganked hard, and the stake drew in his necrotic essence and became a tree. And it's called a Gulthias tree, and every year it produces 2 fruits, 1 apple which gives life to everything around it, and 1 apple which takes life from everything around it. The apple which takes life is a white-colored apple in nature, and the apple that is that gives off is a kind of like super powerful red apple. And the goblins, they hang out here because they just live here. And a druid came by. I think he's an evil druid. I'm not sure yet. He came down and he's like, Gulthias tree, yes. And so he sits and kind of worships it. I'm pretty sure he's evil. And so he takes the big red summer apple and he gives it to the goblins, and he tells them, go and sell that. And so they go up to the surface near this town called Oakhurst, and they sell the apple to them for 50 gold, because Oakhurst is full of people who are awful, like the people of Oakhurst call them it's written in the module that the goblins are wretched creatures, so you got stuff like that going on. So it says they can't bring themselves to pay more than 50 to the goblins, so they pay 50 gold, take the apple, do whatever they're going to do with it. Goblins meanwhile come back with the 50 gold, and things, whatever happens, and then all the seeds from the apple turn into these monsters called twig blights, and they or maybe they're blister blights, I'm not sure, but it's basically twig blights, and they rush around and cause havoc. And the town hasn't realized this yet, because the town, all they know is they plant the seeds, it grows into like a little plant, and then the plant disappears, and they're like, our stuff's being stolen. And then a team went to the Sunless Citadel to find out it was something. They're just going for whatever reason, and they haven't been back for a couple months. And then your team goes in to handle it. So I would think that the first team had put a fire in the fire pit, but it doesn't super matter. Party finds a pair of druids practicing blood magic to grow crops. Ritual said 3 drops, they bled 4. The crops gain sentience, force feed themselves to the druids until the druids' stomachs enter the druids' stomachs, and then they turn their potato eyes and corn ears to the party. Eat us, please. Yeah, defo. Hmm. The real question is, yeah, stomachs explode. Yeah, I kind of got that. I thought you were gonna say burst, but yeah. Valexian, the real question is, are you going to have the party give the druids all the other ingredients to make the crops grow and watch this event happen and be able to try to vaguely stop it, but, see what happens? Or does the party just kind of show up in this druid grove? They're like, the druids are supposed to be here, and then they find the druids saying like, eat us please and all that. And if they partake, it's of course goes horribly badly, it would sound like. But it could go well. Maybe this frees the druids from their eternal problems, but no, things happen. Anyway, switchback stairs. 5-foot wide stairs that descend from Area 1 are roughly carved, are not dangerous to traverse, however, except that combat while on the narrow path can be risky. 3 small landings lie along the route. The first at 60 feet above the floor in Area 3, the second at 40 feet, and the third at 20 feet. Okay, so that map is a lie, essentially, because they show this map, and I see it's like definite difference in height. But no, these are supposed to be 20-foot landings each. This map is what's it called? It's an artistic representation, not an accurate representation. My fault. I assumed, because they have a highly accurate map below, that this one would be accurate in its own way, especially with the gridding that explains the accuracy of the map. But no, it turns out no. Silly reader. Characters might be able to see Area 3 as they descend. Yeah, especially if they have dark vision. A fortress emerges from the darkness. The subterranean citadel, though impressive, seems long forgotten. If the lightless windows, cracked crenellations, and leaning towers are any indication. All is quiet, though a cold breeze blows up from below, bringing with it the scent of dust and a faint trace of rot. Very cool. Crumbled courtyard. The narrow stairs empty into a small courtyard, apparently the top of what was once a crenellated battlement. The buried citadel has sunk so far into the earth that the battlement is now level with the surrounding. That floor stretches away to the north and south, composed of a layer of treacherous, crumbled masonry, which reaches to an unknown depth. To the west looms the surviving structure of what must be the Sunless Citadel. A tower stands on the west side. A stone courtyard surrounded by crumbling masonry contains a trap and a wooden door. Let's see what the map says about this area. Area 3. So that's this spot right here. Let's zoom in. I get a... No, of course I can't. So it looks like you come in here, and there's a little tower and all that stuff. So we're just gonna keep it at this size for now. It's easier to read. An expanse of crumbled masonry. Well, we'll change it. Expanse of crumbled masonry surrounds the entire citadel. Oh, let's see. Elixion's got another thing. The party finds a merchant buying mana potions for an obscene amount of gold due to a shortage. Upon investigating the shortage, the party finds the merchant is BBEG growing treant child army by cutting limbs off adult treants and planting them in a mixture of mana potions and soil. Oops. By cutting limbs off adult treants and nice. Very cool idea. Doo-doo-doo. Let's see. Masonry debris. Expansive crumbled masonry surrounds the entire citadel. Those attempting to cross it immediately note its unsteadiness. The rubble is difficult terrain. Anyone who moves across the debris must make a DC 10 dexterity acrobatics check for each 10 feet traversed. Interesting. On a failed check, the character is unable to move. If the check fails by 5 or more, a slab of masonry below the character shifts, dumping the character into a debris-lined cavity. Okay, climbing back out requires a successful DC 10 strength athletics check. On a failed check, the victim drops back into the cavity. Okay, so it's like a 60% chance of being alright for most people. Like, you'll have the minimum +2 probably. That reminds me of old Simpsons video game where you play as Bart. There's a section where you play as Bart being Indiana Jones because it's like a dream world game, and there's these series of blocks that you got to be very careful to jump on. If you jump on the wrong ones, you're dead. Creatures. Each time you fall into a cavity, the noise is 10% likely to draw 1d4 giant rats from the dozens that infest the rubble field. Attracted rats will move carefully and stealthily through the rubble to attack. If I were those 3 rats up top, I would wait for the party to go down, and then I would follow them. And then once they reached here, I would like wait to see if anyone got jumped, and then jump in with. Yeah, sure, Velixian. What's your mechanic? Velixian is asking, mind if they get a DM's perspective on a mechanic. And yeah, I'm always good to read over ideas and say my thoughts on them. Ultimately, though, like just remember, like it's all personal taste and game stuff. So like just whatever makes your game the funnest is really the most important thing to do. And while you're typing that up, Hidden Pit map shows the location of a concealed trapdoor that covers a 10-foot square, 10-foot deep pit. A 2-foot wide catwalk on the west edge allows access to the door that leads to Area 4. Okay, 10-foot square, 10-foot deep pit. Okay, so that's T for trap. Okay. It takes a successful DC 15 Wisdom Perception check to note the trapdoor's unmortared edge. Then a successful investigation check lets a character deduce the location of the catwalk and how the pit operates. If a creature steps on the trapdoor, the lid will flip open, dumping the creature into the pit. With a successful DC 15 dexterity check, the character can use Thieves' Tools to jam the lid shut. A mechanism resets the trap 1 minute after the door opens, pushing it back into the closed position. The mechanism is in the pit wall under a catwalk. A creature can jam it in the open position with a successful DC 15 dexterity check using Thieves' Tools. If the check succeeds by 5 or more, the mechanism can be permanently disabled if required. Okay, neat. Alright. Elixian, what's your thing? Warlock subclass, Archfey, Misty Step. Could you jump out a 10-story window, poke yourself with a tack to draw blood, proccing the ability to teleport through the 5th story window, or would you need an enemy's attack? Okay, let's check the rules on that. Ba 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 ba. I would say, like, based on just a raw thing of that, it sounds like you're procking off of the drawing blood. I would probably say at minimum you have to take some form of damage, but I need to see what the Archfey character does, because everything that's written about a character is like what tells you what you need to know about them. So Warlock under the Archfey, and then we want Misty Step. Misty Escape, not Misty Step. Got it. Starting at 6th level, you can vanish in a puff of mist in response to harm. When you take damage, you can use your reaction to turn invisible and teleport up to 60 feet to an unoccupied space you can see. You will remain invisible until the start of your next turn or until you attack or cast a spell. Once you use this feature, you can't use it again until you finish a short or long rest. Okay. That depends on a series of factors on how I'm feeling and like what kind of a game we're playing. But that sounds doable. I would say it's got to do some damage, so you're going to take that 1 hit point of damage no matter what. And also, you don't necessarily. You could have a buddy do it where somebody shoots you in the chest with an arrow or something like that. I just read the rules on falling recently, and so would you? So you jump out the 10-story window, and then you want to teleport down 5 levels. That could work, but it would have to, as it says, it has to be an unoccupied space you can see. The angle might be off for you. If you try to, because you're like this, and you jump from here, and you want to see like down here. So you can kind of see down here depending on how your jump goes. Especially since you want to be on the other side of the window. Okay, so I think it would depend on a lot of factors. I think it's definitely doable. I think Rule of Cool would let it happen. But it depends on what the DM is looking for in that particular case. Because if your DM is much more focused on like the reality, I would say if you were looking at a deep look at the reality, it's really hard to get the angle to see that section of floor and teleport to it and time you're stabbing yourself. But this is D&D, which is a storytelling game, so like as long as your DM is okay with Rule of Cooling it, I think it can work. The big thing is you're going to need to take a minimum amount of damage no matter what. And I could definitely see a DM saying, you're going to need to make like a dexterity/wisdom saving throw on this. Maybe not even a saving throw, but like a skill check, because what you're planning on is a lot of like really specific things. Because it's like you leap out, and then the instant you see your exit point, you stab yourself and then teleport to that location. So it's doable, but it's not something that on a 60-foot drop seems that complicates the matter a lot. But if the night's been a lot of fun and I'm Rule of Cooling it, yeah, I could see saying like do it, and then like you teleport into the 5th floor. But getting to the 5th floor, I guess the question is like, why do you need to do this alone? Like you've usually got a party, or if you don't have a party, like it's you know what, never mind, that there's always a reason to do things like this, so never mind. But it could work. Especially because you remain invisible, which is nice. You don't even need to get on the other side of the thing. Let's see, the damage is fine. Thinking dungeon shortcuts. It could be a dungeon shortcut. I am not sure though. Bypassing 5 floors with your ability is nice, and it is kind of a shortcut, but if I'm a guy on the 5th floor and I see someone teleported in, like you're invisible for about a round, so you have some time to figure out what you want to do. But if I'm a dude and I'm sitting there doing nothing, and then all of a sudden the fifth floor gets opened up with an enemy, I'm gonna call for backup, and now you're gonna get backup from a floor above you and a floor below you, and so all of the two encounters are gonna come up and attack with a one dude standing there. So I would be very aware that way. Just like be tactically aware of what your options are and what you're doing. Like, what kind of a building is this? What floor are you actually going to? Like, why do you want, like, all the things. You want to make sure that you're properly prepped and ready for the idea that you might have teleported into a bad situation. But you are Fey Warlock. I'm guessing you have, spells that can help you. I believe Misty Step, which is the teleport spell version of this, is possible for you to use. So you could definitely, if things go bad, get out of there and try something else. But yeah, seems like a solid plan. It could work. Depends on how the DM's feeling and what your DM's style is, but it's a solid enough plan to say to the DM, I have an idea. If is this something that's feasible? Because I think most DMs will tell you if their world has that as a feasibility thing, because as long as you're working with a DM who's like working with you, you talk about where are our limits and where are our things. Great. So I can Valexian says, great, so I can risk a heroic sacrifice to draw all the guards' attention while my party just runs down 10 flights of otherwise guarded stairs with the MacGuffin. Possibility, yeah, definitely a possibility. It depends on what you're going for and what you're trying to do, but yeah, that could totally work. You could do a heroic sacrifice. If the party is the kind that would leave you, or if you tell them beforehand, like, look guys, I'm going to do this, it's going to get a lot of guards' attention, you just run by the stairs, don't worry about it, I'm going to make noise. That could work really well. There might be other options, but yeah, that could work, especially if the DM is allowing you to do this thing. And if you sit at the table and say, I've got an idea, it might end up with my character being dead. DM, is this feasible in this world that you've created to do this with my ability? If he says yes, that's the go ahead, like, let's get this done. The party might not want you to die though, because I've found it's super difficult to get your character killed, and it's super, whenever you find a way to heroically sacrifice yourself, there's usually somebody at the table who has a way to make that not happen by any means necessary. So just be aware of that. You might try it, and then all of a sudden the party busts down the door and is like, we're in this together, and then you're all slicing enemies apart and stuff like that. But either way, it'll be kind of fun. Probably, I would hope. Big thing is like focusing on maximizing the fun. So creatures. The pit contains 2 goblin skeletons. 1 goblin has been dead for about a day, and 1 live giant rat. Wow, that rat ate fast. The rat, which slipped into the pit to feed on the fresh goblin but was caught when the trap reset, attacks creatures inside the pit or climbs out to attack those nearby. Makes sense. Goblin corpse has a scimitar and a shield, as well as 23 silver and 4 gold in a belt pouch. Woo, goblin. You were rich. The tower shell. This circular area is cobbled with cracked granite, upon which sprawl the bodies of 4 goblins, apparently slain in combat. 1 corpse stands with its back against the western wall, the spear that killed it still skewering it and holding it upright. 3 wooden doors lead from this area. Hollow tower of loose masonry reaches 30 feet into the air, but the intervening floors and stairs are gone, except for a couple of crumbled layers. Very cool description with the bodies. This is something that I remember when I read The Village of Hamlet. No, not Village of Hamlet. It was the other one. It's like not Dungeons of the Mad Mage. There's this old first edition basic adventure where you find a a hideout that these two old adventurers had. Um, One was like a fighter, and the other was a wizard, and they disappeared a long time ago to go fight in one of the king's wars against the barbarian tribes to the north, something like that. And you end up finding their secret base, basically, as a party, and it has a similar description early on about you can find a room with like dead people. It's a hallway. It's one of the first hallways, and it's clear that they went in and they were like, "Wow, we're tough adventurers. We got this," and they've just been slaughtered to a man in like the first hallway. And I really like these descriptions sometimes because it gives this idea of you're about to walk into a very dangerous situation and you know it's a very dangerous situation. So be a lot of fun. Velixian says scare the Pokemon players, give the rat the move endeavor, and only endeavor. They'll constantly be expecting a two-shot. Oh, that's hilarious. I don't know Endeavor and Pokemon stuff as well, but that is funny if you can if you can bring real life knowledge from other games into it. Hmm. Really get people in on the shared world stuff. Bodies. Investigation will reveal that the four goblins have been dead for quite a while and the rats have gnawed at them. The bodies have been looted. If someone removes the spear pinning the goblin to the wall, the body will slump to reveal draconic runes on the wall behind it. Those who know the draconic language can read the runes as a shardalon. What is a shardalon? That's a question for me to ask. Shardalon. Did I spell it wrong? That way, yeah. Bam. Spelled it wrong. Oh, cursed. Okay. Tales from the Yawning Portal. All from A1. Okay, cool. So it doesn't matter. It's not a larger thing. Oh my goodness. Endeavor sets the opponent's HP to your HP? Wow, that's a wild ability. Alexia, that's wild. Then if you have certain item, you can get in 1/8 of the damage dealt, healing you back to full if there's a huge difference. That's wild. That's that might be a that's a really awesome ability, but I think that could crack a game wide open because if that happens once, most parties are going to pretty much refuse to move forward if they know that that's something they can consistently do. Because I think 7 hit points. It's not that bad. Endeavor on a giant rat, 7 hit points to a first level party's 10, 12 hit points. Very doable. Yeah, it's the rats. If it's the rats only move, we won't be able to kill. That's true, but there's definitely more stuff that comes up next. Like there's we've already had a trap door. It looks like there's a needle trap, and there will be goblins and kobolds soon enough. But it is a I think if I were a player and you set me on that, if you gave me that rat and I knew what that ability was, I think I would try to animal train that rat because uh, the rat has 7 hit points, and starting at first level, I may only have let's see, the lowest amount I could possibly have in if somehow maxed out everything happened weird. I guess it'd be like 11. Yeah, no Krenko mob boss here, but yeah, there are goblins. You could probably throw Krenko in here and wreck shop, as it were. But that's the thing is like but yeah, there's a bunch of goblins in here that the druid is supposedly in charge of. But I would, if I knew what the rat did, and I knew it was an endeavor ability that matched my hit points, assuming my minimum hit points was like 5 or 4. For me, that would be like, well, whatever, that doesn't do anything to me. For the fighter that has like 10, they'd lose 3 hit points, and a barbarian would lose about 4 or 5 hit points, and then if he had more, he'd lose more. But if I knew what that ability was, I would probably kidnap as many of those rats as possible and start like a breeding program thing and make them into allies. And I'd train them so that they were okay with me like scooping them up and picking them up. And then this is pretty awful. Don't get me wrong. I'd put them in like a giant bag full of food, keep them happy, keep them all that, and then just like if people who were nasty and were high level, I would throw the rat at them, and then just have the rat like boom, guy goes down to 7 HP, and then I jump him. Yeah. Against the level 15 to 20 party, it's a scary rat. That's a deeply scary rat. If you're a first level character, that rat is your new pet to deal with 15th level parties. So, secret door. A trapped secret door leads to Area 5. Finding the door requires a successful DC 20 Wisdom Perception check. Oh, you know what? I just realized today's Wednesday. Today's supposed to be my day off. It's fine. The door opens by way of a masonry block that also serves as a lever, which can be pushed in on the left side or pulled out from the right. Pushed or pulled out from the right. Secret door from room 4. There's the secret. Huh. I don't quite get that, but finally is a needle trap. If the lever is pulled out, that movement will set off a needle trap. The needle will extend 3 inches out of the opening, dealing 1 piercing damage to whoever pulled the lever. Someone who carefully and slowly pulls the lever open can easily see the needle before it strikes. Disabling the needle will require thieves' tools and a successful DC 15 dexterity check. If the check fails by 5 or more, the trap will go off, stabbing the character unless the character succeeds on a DC 15 dexterity saving. Secret pocket. The pocket chamber is damp and cold. Skeletons of 3 long dead archers slump against rubble-filled arrow slits along the east and south walls. Skeletons date back to the time before the Citadel plunged into the earth. The calamity killed all 3 of them at the same time, instilling in them the curse of undeath. If anyone enters this chamber, the 3 skeletons animate, pinpoints of red fire sparkling in their eye sockets as they rise. Scary. Has 20 arrows, 2d10 SP, 1d10 GP, and 1+1 arrow with a special socket on the quiver. Because the skeletons are mindless, they don't use the magical arrows. I don't think that's accurate. Obviously, they use them when they run out of arrows. But yeah, I get it. Elixian, do DMs usually allow modifications to a character that only hurt the character? Like, say I want to play a gnome artificer with multiple split personalities that change every time they take damage, and they literally put part of their soul, a fraction of max HP, into their artificer tinker creations that returns when the item is destroyed. I think it's a as your DM like is or is not okay with it. Um, I would probably be fine with the soul part. The multiple split personalities thing, I would definitely ask in what method are you using split personalities? What kind, like what characters are they? Because I love the idea of like a chaotic character, and this could be a lot of fun, but also depending on the campaign that we as a party have agreed to beforehand. If it's like supposed to be a very serious campaign, having a character who who swaps their personality out every time they take damage could be a little too distracting from like the main kind of thing. But you know, if it's like if it's like a comedy game, or it's like a game where like it's kind of like chill for that to happen, it's totally fine and very cool. Or if the character like that's sort of a big important very serious thing with them, is that they have different characters and each one of them has their own way of doing things, and it doesn't like just as long as it is fun for everyone and very interesting. Like I've got a game that I'm in right now where I have a character who he does have a secondary personality that he can switch to, but he only does it. He's only going to be doing it in combat, and it's a literal combat version character who's like a different person, but is like very focused on fighting, and so it's like a barbarian rage. It's like when they do the barbarian rage, they swap over to this other guy, and the other guy is like very competent, very knows what he's doing, uses all of his raging abilities to the best extent he can, and then he swaps back to the other guy, and the other guy is like kind of lazy, doesn't really want to do things, and constantly trying to like deceive others. Um, so it could be a lot of fun to have that kind of a character, and I would probably allow such characters. But every DM has their own mileage on what they think is like a good character to be playing with, and some aren't going to be interested in that. And there might be players who, for whatever reason, aren't comfortable with that for some reason. And that's where like certain things can come up, is like the question of like, what do we do if we're not comfortable with something, and how do we work forward from that? But otherwise, they sound like solid character ideas. You just ask your DM. Most DMs don't mind you stabbing yourself in the foot on purpose in front of everybody. That's unless the DM specifically has like a thing against it. I would doubt most DMs would have a problem with it. Old approach number 6. Oh, the masonry walls of this 20-foot wide hall are in poor repair. The far end has collapsed, filling the southern section with rubble. The western wall is in much better shape than the outer walls, and it holds a stone floor with a rearing dragon carved in relief on it. The door has a single keyhole situated in the rearing dragon's open mouth. Dragon door. Elixion says, pacifist, battle lust personality, character that thinks they're stealthy but not, stats don't change with personality, and a chaotic good character, be rolling d4 each time. See, that could work out. I can see most, I can like that sounds like it's fun. I would definitely like, if I were your DM, I would make sure with the rest of the party that they were cool with one of their PCs essentially swapping from battle lust to pacifist potentially every other round. Just because being a pacifist is like fine, but if the party's in a fight and you've gone deep into melee for whatever reason, and then you swap to pacifist and you're like, I only dodge now, that's a little I can see a party going like, oh no. But as long as everybody's cool with it, like it can be a lot of fun. That sounds like a really fun kind of like character sets of builds. um the It would be interesting to see how each of them responds to a different situation, I think. Um, it also seems like it would be a lot of fun to you take damage and then you're like in one personality until the next time you take damage. So like you could get stuck on pacifist for a while. Or battle lust. And just keep saying, "Hey, my guy, let's have a fight." That kind of stuff. Like it would be a very interesting kind of build sort of thing. Dragon Door. The door that is carved to look like a dragon has a mechanical lock as well as an arcane lock spellcaster. Why? Strength Athletics check to defeat the arcane lock is DC 30. And the dexterity check to bypass the magical lock using Thieves' Tools is 25. Casting Nox suppresses the magical lock for 10 minutes, lowering the DCs by 10 during that time. The mechanical lock will remain intact if the magical one is bypassed, requiring another Nox spell or the use of the key. The key, which bypasses the magical lock, as well as the mechanical one, is in Area 21. Problem with Battleless is it would see neither friend nor foe, just the fight ahead. Yeah, that can be a problem. That can be a big problem. I had a character who was a barbarian, and I asked the DM to let me do like a berserker rage thing, and just lose the concept of friend or foe. DM let me do it. I almost killed our wizard one time. I'm pretty sure we were safe though. The DM had we were in like a not quite dream sequence realm, so I think the DM was he knew what he was doing. He was keeping us safe from safe, but like I basically had a character like his backstory was he was like a level 10 barbarian. He was like the best warrior of his tribe. He was literally their champion. And he just quit fighting after the Goblin Wars because he just couldn't handle it anymore. And the chief didn't question because he'd been doing like the biggest part of the fighting and knew that he'd been like affected by it pretty heavily. And so the chief was like friends with him and tried to be nice and stuff like that. But he in general was a very like, I am depressed all the time and like in a down mood all the time kind of guy. But Chieftain, he was pretty nice, helping him out. And then he left the village eventually to go do some other things and helped like a caravan out. And the caravan got attacked by vampires, and the vampires were like way stronger than him, and so his response when push comes to shove is not like I chose to activate rage, but it definitely wasn't something he was trying to do. And so he rages, and I got an ability that was a Pathfinder ability. I might have cheesed it, but like it was this thing where basically like you get your strength score as a bonus to a strength check you make. And so I basically grappled the vampire and then said like, I want to like rip its head off, and then use that ability to do that and finish the fight. And then the DM was like, cool, fight seems to have calmed down. I was like, cool, unfortunately I'm still in rage. What is the nearest person near me? I start moving towards that. And then as I did that, the DM had someone like touch my shoulder and remove the battle rage. So that was a lot of fun, like a character like that, and it was really, really cool. But it definitely is one of those where it's like, how do you keep that character not like fully on lock, but like how do you keep them checked in? Which stabbing him is pretty good because they'll change personalities when he gets hit. So creature, one giant rat hides in the rubble. The rat attacks anybody who moves within 5 feet of the edge of the rubble or anyone left alone in this area. The Gallery of Forlorn Notes. As the door opens, a hissing noise and a puff of dust around the door indicate the chamber beyond has been sealed for ages. Dust, long undisturbed, covers every surface in this large gallery. The air here stale. 3 alcoves are on the north wall, and 1 is on the south wall. Each alcove contains a dust-covered stone pedestal with a fist-sized crystalline globe resting on it. The globes in the northern alcoves are cracked and dark. The globe in the southern alcove glows with a soft blue light. Faint tinkling notes issue. Elixian says, I also like the idea of a gnome in Battle Lust. A gnome in Battle Lust is very cool. We have, I have another one that was really fun. I was playing an Adventurers League. And met a super awesome dude. Had a character, Halfling Paladin, who was a Halfling, but was not a Paladin. He was a halfling barbarian that told everyone he was a paladin because he was very faithful to the church and believed in it and thought that his rage was a holy battle fervor. And literally that's what he told us. Or at least I might have it wrong, that he might have been playing it as the holy battle fervor is the rage ability, but my understanding of it was he is a barbarian who just does not understand that he is not a paladin, but says he's a paladin and tells everyone that. And that was a hilarious game because everyone in that game lied about who they were and what their specialty was. Like, I think my character was the only one who didn't lie about the fact that they were a bard, but my character pretended he did not know the common tongue for, like, the whole game until the very end where he just screamed, "That's it! I'm done! We're doing this!" We had like a rogue who turned out to be a warlock. We had just a ton of people whose like whole thing. We had a wizard who ran in and started bashing things with a book. It was amazing. Our party, in no way, shape, or form, followed the supposed things of what we were. We all said we were one thing. We got into a fight, and everything fell apart instantly. It was great. We did work on that one. That was a hilarious and super fun night. It was great too because I think it was the DM's first time. Because they were really super prepped up, and I think they said like this is their first game. Like, please everyone be cool with it, and like it was amazing because everyone was just in having fun doing the thing. It was great, awesome. No problems whatsoever. We just loved that game whole time. One session, it was perfect. It was just one of those good ones. Anyway, if a character moves within 5 feet of the lit globe, brooding music will begin to play throughout the area, and the sound carries into areas 6, 8, and 9 if the doors to those areas are open. Any creature that can hear the music must make a wisdom saving throw, DC 15. On a successful save, a creature is immune to the music of the globe for 24 hours. Oh, but if they're not, pray tell what happens. On a failed save, creature becomes charmed, while charmed can only take the dash action and move towards area 3. The entrance. The effect ends once that creature reaches the floor beyond the pit trap in area 3. If an affected creature is prevented from moving to area 3, creature can repeat the saving throw at the end of each of its turns, ending the effect on a successful save. The effect ends on its own 1 minute after the creature can no longer hear the music. Creature can escape the music by being on the other side of a closed door that leads to the gallery, or by vacating the area where the music is audible. That's super useful. It has to AC 10 and 10 hit points. Unfortunate. But, I believe there's a super glue in the world of D&D. And I could definitely see taking these globes and, like, placing them strategically in a keep to like keep out intruders if I could make dozens of them, but probably very expensive to do. But it is a DC 15 Wisdom saving throw, super useful. If it is attacked or handled, the music will become louder, audible in areas 4 and 10 if the doors to those areas are open. The DC of the Wisdom saving throw will then increase to 20. If the globe is reduced to 0 hit points or taken from the room, it will crack and go dark and silent, or it no longer functions. Very cool, very cool. Pressure plate. The air is stale in this 20-foot-long corridor. Which leads to another closed stone door. Arrow trap. Every time any weight is placed on any part of the center 10-foot square section of the corridor, a mechanical pressure plate is activated, which triggers a trap. An arrow will fire from above the western door at the center at the creature who triggered the trap. Plus 5 to hit, 1d10 or 5 piercing damage. With a successful DC 15 intelligence investigation check, a character can deduce the presence of the pressure plate from variations in the mortar and stone around it, compared to the surrounding floor, wedging an iron spike or some other similarly sized and sturdy object under the pressure plate will prevent it from being activated. Very cool. Oh, chat paused. Oh, so sorry about that. The chat got paused. See new messages, yeah. Okay, it looks like I'm current on stream chat. The last thing I have is Valexian also liking the idea of a gnome in Battle Lust. So disaster. Dragon riddle. Dust fills this hall like a layer of gray snow. In the rounded northern end of the chamber stands a 10-foot tall sculpture of a coiled dragon carved from red-veined white marble. I know this is extraordinarily rude of me, but and they say red-veined white marble. I did not expect the blue eyes white dragon, but kind of sick. You know, like a little bit of necrotic damage. Meh. That's I think that's a little rude of me to say, so apologies to the creator of, you know, what is, you know, probably a good, you know, good enough art piece. I just that comes off as the blue eyes white dragon, but with like a Yu-Gi-Oh, with like a magic effect strapped to it. So yeah, sorry about that. It doesn't hit me the right way. Dragon sculpture. If a creature moves within 5 feet of the dragon statue, a magical mouth spell will cause the dragon to utter a riddle in common. To viewers, it seems as though the stone jaws are actually moving. The dragon's riddle is as follows. Why would you spend that much time on it? I guess it was a vanity project. We come at night without... Oh, damn it, I accidentally read the answer. Okay. We come at night without being fetched. We disappear by day without being stolen. What are... Oh, man. I would have a lot of trouble with that one. Oh, good thing I'm the DM. Secret door. Secret door in the western wall leads to Area 10. Finding the door requires a successful DC 20 Wisdom Perception check. Under the scrutiny of Detect Magic, the door radiates a faint aura of Abjuration magic. The door comes open, pivoting into the room only if someone speaks the answer to the riddle. Once the door is opened, it closes on its own 1 minute later. Although any obstruction placed in the doorway prevents it from doing so, the door can be opened from the western side with a simple push. Room 10. Honor Guard. Can't believe we're actually here. Dust cloaks the contents of this 20-foot wide hall. 6 alcoves line the walls, 3 to the north and 3 to the south. Each alcove except the southwest one holds a humanoid figure, carved of red-veined white marble. The figures resemble tall elves in plate armor. A stone archway at the west end of the hall opens into a wide room from which greenish light glows. A dark pit is situated. Southwest alcove. DC 10 perception check reveals dust in the room is disturbed by tracks that start in the southwest alcove. Though tracks are filled in enough that the disturbance must have occurred dozens of years ago. What? You can tell the dust was disturbed, but you can tell it was dozens of years ago? I guess, okay, so it's, like, not as deeply dirty? Yeah, okay. A successful wisdom survival check enables, DC 10, enables a character to determine that the tracks were made by tiny humanoid feet with claw-like nails. Meh! They begin in the center of the alcove, move west toward the pit, and then disappear into the pit. A character who enters the pit follows the tracks. To follow the tracks, must make another survival check to pick up the trail again. Spiked pit. The pit is 10 feet deep, and its bottom is filled with spikes that deal 2d10 piercing to a creature that falls in, as well as falling damage. So yeah, 2d10 plus 1d6. The walls of the pit are rough, and they offer handholds to climbers. Area 12 begins on its far side. Creature, a quasit named Jot, was bound in the southwestern alcove an age ago to guard the contents of the sarcophagus in Area 12. It was in suspended animation until a few decades ago, and it now waits on the other side of the arch just out of sight in Area 12. Jot is alerted by any light source the characters have, so it can prepare for them. If the characters have no light source and are stealthy, Jot might not become aware of them. The quasit darts out of its hiding place and attacks the first creature that climbs out of the pit on the western side. Development. Jot will not fight to the death. Shocker. If he takes any damage, or if more than one character attacks him, Jot laughs and says, "You broke the binding. My watch over the dragon priest is over." It uses its next action to become invisible, and then turns into a bat and flies along the 10-foot high ceiling across the pit. What? If Jot escapes, the characters might see him again. He knows that death on the material plane means a return to the abyss, so he prefers to harass the characters while they are otherwise engaged, laughing and mocking as he does so. This dragon priest was like, Jot, you must protect this thing. You are bound to guard the contents of the sarcophagus. But if you get hurt, you can go. Also, if 2 people attack you, you can go. Like, what? I guess that's what you expect from a quasit. A ball of chaos. You broke the binding! My watch over the dragon priest is over! Flies off. Sounds like the DM made this character specifically to just follow the party around and be a little jerk. If Jot escapes, the characters might see him again, yeah. Secret door. Finding the door on the southern wall requires a successful DC 20 wisdom perception check. The door opens with a simple push inward. Very cool. And then fortress locations 11 through 20 start up. So we went through, we've entered, avoided that trap, checked in room 4, checked out this, got in 6, got to where the orb is, and then 8 and 9, and you're supposed to secret door to get to 10, which is where we just were. And none of this gets us to 13. It looks like we have to take this hallway, get to one of 3 13s? There's 3 13s here. So it assumes you're gonna go left, which is a bold assumption, obviously. So if I were the DM, I would suggest have room 5 prepped, have room 6. Let's see, how much time do I think they'll take? I guess you have to prep a lot of it. It looks like you would want to prep at least the first 10 rooms, and then at least the first 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I guess 8 rooms. Let's see. That'll take like 20 minutes, maybe 10 minutes. That would take about 10 minutes. Maybe if the party is really playing around, it'll take them 45 to an hour. But most likely it takes them 10 minutes to do the first areas and get down to here, which is where area 3 is. So let's see, town, that's about 10 minutes. They fight the rats for like 45 to get to here total. Yeah, it looks like you'd have to prep like the whole. You gotta prep like 5. You gotta prep like double rooms because they left it open, which is fine. This is super useful for like somebody who like already knows the map because it's like, oh, I already know this. That's over there. That's over there. Da, da, da. But like if you're learning this and you're being told this is what you got to make, it's like, how do I do this? But it's fine. Works out pretty well, I think. Good solid game though. Good solid stuff going on here. Thank you very much, Velixian, for hanging out. We're gonna pause here. I think we're just gonna finish for the day. We might play some Control later. We might play Control just tomorrow. But we're gonna stop here for today. Hope everyone had a good one. At some point, I'll probably take the day off because I forgot today was the day off. But we'll see what goes on. Anyway, I hope everyone had a great one, and I'll see you all next time.